So I thought I'd do another video, but this time a little more, kind of off the cuff, whatever comes to mind. The theme for today's video will be nature and appreciation of it, and how a person like me who lacks belief in a divine power can possibly find beauty in, the naturalistic world. What possible enjoyment could you possibly get of, like, a sunset, a rainbow, the high seas, flowers, anything which comes to mind which you appreciate? For me, it's, the night sky, the moon, the stars, sunrise, more than sunset, because it's the start of the new day, and I'm kind of cheesy like that. But for me, I guess personally for me, if it comes down to whether or not a divine power is behind it, that's really not what makes it special for me. That's not why I find it beautiful. Because for like a religious person or a person who just believes in a creator, they may think, oh, this is imbued with God's, divine presence or his handiwork. It is the mark of the divine in all natural things. And I can see how that's really appealing. You see a tree and you think of this divine force, which is, outside of space and time, and it imbues all things which it creates with this divine energy, or this imprint, or this, I guess you could call it a trademark. I'm not sure how to put it, but there's like the mark of the divine. Like the brain, something very complex, which is often attributed to a god, or the eye, often attributed to a god. And a person who believes in a creator god will say that all of these things have the mark of the divine, of the divine, and say that its complexity, its functionality, it is all part of God's handiwork and proof that he exists, and he exists in all things. For me, because I don't really believe in that aspect of, the divine creator, that portion isn't there for me. That I don't have that sort of idea in my head that everything I look at is the product of a intelligent designer who crafts it and causes it to come into being from nothing, which is essentially what he would need to be doing. But not to split hairs, but I will inevitably split hairs here. But for me, believing that everything in the natural world is beautiful because God created it sort of cheapens it. For me personally, because I think that the natural world is beautiful because out of sort of natural physical laws, you have a set toolkit from which the entire universe is, constructed, if you want to use creationist terms. And you have this sort of set of natural laws which they abide by, because, in my mind, it makes sense that there would be natural laws, because if there was no any sense of order to it, then nothing would be here. So of course, if we're here, then there must be a set of natural laws which all physical things must adhere to, because there's no reason why they wouldn't be universal. But that might be something of a contentious subject when you think about like multiverses and spontaneous creations of spontaneous creation of new universes in this grand multiverse, which I'll get into another video, where I'm not really sure that I believe in that sort of thing. But anyways, I don't see any reason to believe that a divine being is behind this. So I, as a default, believe that the universe more likely than not, came into being purely because of natural causes. They may be natural causes which are difficult for us to understand. We're still trying to figure out the origins of the universe, we're still trying to figure out underlying mechanisms as to how the whole thing functions. We're still trying to figure out how general relativity and quantum physics can work at the same time in situations such as, like, the singularity of a black hole, or the, I guess, sort of a singularity which would exist at the beginning of the existence of the universe, or something like it. That would be a situation where we would need to know how these two disparate physical laws, these two theories which we've created, how could they possibly melt together in that instance? So there are still things that we don't understand about the universe, and likely those answers will be things which are hard for us to really understand or comprehend at first, or really sort of imagine in our minds. But in any case, they would still be a universe which comes into being because of natural laws, because essentially that is how it works. That is how the natural universe works. And from just a set of tools which you use to create the universe, and natural laws which all of those, puzzle pieces have to abide by, you create, insanely intricate and beautiful structures. The arc of the galaxy, the shape of galaxies, the brightness of these supermassive stars, the awe-inspiring power of a black hole, active galactic nuclei, which are essentially black holes at the center, active black holes at the center of galaxies, which may be either young or have undergone collisions. You have pulsars, you have neutron stars, you have all of these insanely powerful and awe-inspiring celestial bodies which exist in the universe. And then you think about it less from a scientific standpoint and more from like an artistic appreciation sort of a standpoint, where you have, the entire, like, the arc of the galaxy. The day that I finally get to see that will probably be the day that I just end up bawling my eyes out, because I've witnessed something so incredibly beautiful that it brings me to tears, because in that moment I would be appreciating the immense size, the grandeur of the universe. Because when when anyone looks up into that arc of the galaxy and into the night sky, where they can see more than just, a few constellations here and there, but can actually see like the whole of the night sky without any obstructions, you're looking into deep space. You can see Andromeda, depending on the circumstances. If you have a clear night, no, light pollution, no obstruction, no clouds, you could potentially see deep into much deeper into the universe than you could from, let's say, the sidewalk, where you have all of these lampposts that obscure your vision. That would be incredible. It would be a situation in which I would truly feel how small I am. I would truly get a better understanding of just how small I am compared to this immense universe which I occupy. At the same time, I mean, it's a very humbling and awe-inspiring experience, I imagine, for anyone who's seen it, which is why I want to see it. But then there's also like the everyday. You have sunlight, you have a sunset, the colors which come about purely because of, how a sunset works. During a sunset, you have all of these sort of colors which come into view because of the fact that the rays of sunlight have to pass through more air than when the sun is bearing down on you from above. Your perspective changes, and so the effect that the sun's light has on the atmosphere that you're looking at is different depending on the time of day. And just through that, through how gases interact with sunlight in depending on the time of day. Same thing goes for rainbows, how sunlight interacts with falling drops of water in the atmosphere, in the sky, in the air around you. All of these sort of natural processes coming to create these beautiful images which we see. And like a snowflake, the intricate structure of a snowflake. And it may be that we as human beings are sort of naturally predisposed towards finding these things beautiful because, sunlight is important for life, for photosynthesis, but it's also necessary for us to be able to see it during the day without any assistance. So I imagine prehistoric man likely had to use the sunlight as their principal means of being able to get around, do anything. And so I could get into the theories and such about human evolution and how it drives us to find certain things beautiful, or how how our natural paternal instinct kind of drives us to want to cuddle a baby when we see one. We have this natural paternal instinct whenever we see a baby or anything that looks remotely like a baby, like a puppy or a kitten. But even with that doesn't change the fact that I do feel those emotions when I see certain things. Kind of goes towards the whole determinism and free will thing. If you're predisposed to react in a certain way, is it really genuine? But your experience is the same either way, and I can get it into determinism in another video. There are a few topics that I've mentioned here that are already in my list of ideas for future videos, but this one is about the beauty in the natural world. And for me, the fact that, I guess to kind of wrap this up, or wrap my point up, is that you have this very sometimes very complex, but sometimes very, very simple structure and sort of behavior of the natural world around you. And just with a set of natural laws and basic building blocks, it results in these very sort of awe-inspiring structures, situations, things which we can look at and appreciate. And it kind of goes back to my other video about how, because of the fact that everything has an end, has a definite sort of end point, it becomes all the more imperative to take stock and appreciate what you have. And I mean all of what you have, including the very world around you, space, earth, people, the smell of a flower, etc. And I look at all of these things, especially the night sky, and I think about it in terms of what it is, and it's that alone which inspires awe in me. It's not the divine hand of the Creator which drives me to find beauty in the night sky. It's the fact that I'm looking up at what I can't even begin to sort of guess is how many light years are between myself and a ball of burning hydrogen so many millions of kilometers away from me. It's the fact that I'm looking out into this deep, deep cosmic horizon and seeing objects which, are so brilliant, shine so brightly that they can be seen from across the universe. It's the grandeur of it all, and that's purely based on what it is. It's the power of, whole stars, whole galaxies, the immensity, the awe-inspiring power, all of that without having to even think about, a creator having a hand in it. And we know with everything that I just mentioned, this sort of really super complex natural world that we live in. And sure, maybe we are predisposed to find beauty in it in some way, shape, or form, but that doesn't change the fact that we do experience those feelings, and I do experience those feelings. That's my Instagram is so chock full of photos of the night sky, or the sun setting or rising, or a particularly beautiful cloudy day, or um, a rainbow, any sort of beautiful natural sight. My Instagram is pretty much just dedicated to it because I enjoy taking photos of those events, those objects. Like recently, when you could see the moon and Mars pretty much right next to each other. For me, that was a beautiful sight because I was looking at two celestial bodies in our solar system that, despite being separated by millions of kilometers, because of how the angles and the geometry all work, and also considering like general relativity and so many other scientific fields which you have to sort of consider when thinking about how this lineup of two celestial bodies works out. You think about it and like just how it all functions, how it all works, how it all is, and it's in that where I find the awe, the beauty. Being able to look up at the night sky and seeing these distant bodies, and yet because of how the natural world works, I'm able to appreciate them. Which again goes back to my previous video talking about appreciation of the here and now. I am able to appreciate objects in the universe that in the future may not be visible to me. I mean, that may not be true of the solar system, given just how it's likely to progress throughout its lifespan. If you can say that the universe has the solar system has a sort of lifespan depending on the death of the sun. But, the moon will eventually not be in the current position it is, as I said before, and things like a solar eclipse, which we are very lucky to, we're in a very unique situation to be able to appreciate, that eventually won't be the case anymore. And so, once again, it's the fact that you're able to look up at the sun, and in this current point in time, we're able to look up and see it completely shrouded by our little moon. We're able to see, the middle of the day turn into practically almost dusk because these two celestial bodies happen to line up in just the right way for us to witness this amazing event. And it's all due to, relativity, physics, just the how of, the way everything works. And, it's the way that, it also happens to be the way that Einstein's theory of general relativity was proven right because of how the sun sort of bends the light of the stars that are visible behind it. And so it's not only this sort of spectacular sight of two celestial bodies, which are immense compared to us puny humans, but also giving us further insight into a much vaster universe which we're trying to understand. And it's sort of like this enterprise of understanding the world around us that also contributes to its beauty, to its awe-inspiring power. So for me, I guess it's the science behind it. It's the just sheer immensities that are involved within it. And it's those things alone that, for me, make the natural world, beautiful, awe-inspiring. I don't need a god to find it amazing. I don't need a god to explain it. At least I don't think so. But I also don't need a god to appreciate it, because I feel that something that I've said, but also others have said before, is the universe is that much more amazing if you consider that it wasn't created. because like a lot of people will say like, you're really gonna think that this complex and immense and insanely intricate universe, you know, this unbelievable thing which we exist within, you really think that that all came about by itself? And I have no reason to think otherwise. I don't really have a good reason to believe that it wasn't the result of natural processes, and in fact was the hand of a divine creator. So for me, yes, it came to be by itself, essentially, and that makes it all the more amazing. The idea that like a creator god, you know, causes it to come into being and, you know, develops all of its intricacies, all of its complexities, all of its functions, you know, that serves as a great way to sort of blanket explain it all. But I don't really have a good reason to believe that that's the true explanation for how everything works, considering that it's a thousands of year old claim which has never really had any good evidence to support it. And so I'd rather go with scientists and what they have been able to work out by observation, application of mathematics, hypothesizing, theorizing, testing, working to create this objectively verifiable model for the universe as we see it. I probably rambled on quite a bit, but I thought that this was an important video for me to make in terms of like the logical progression of these videos. Hopefully this was a much better spoken video where I'm just speaking my mind and saying what comes to me. Took off my glasses because I don't like how it reflects the image I'm looking at, but I might be squinting a lot, so oh well. So yeah, this is going to be appreciation of the beauty of the natural world, and my 6th video. Well, I'm trying to figure out how to end this, so that's the cue for me to just end it. Hope you enjoyed it, to whoever watches this in probably the distant future, and I guess goodbye.